Hello and welcome to this slightly different video. As you might know, these shelves behind me, with the exception of a few of the books, basically the Sanderson section, are all books that are on my TBR. And there's quite a lot of books here. I actually went through and updated my story graph the other day with all of the physical books on my TBR, and there are 179 of them. So quite a lot of books, quite a lot of choice, lots of different age ranges and genres, and paperbacks, hardbacks, mass market paperbacks. So I felt like filming a little video where I do kind of like a shop my shelves. So look through the books with you that are on my physical TBR. I'm not going to call them all out, I'm not going to read them all out to you, but I'll show you each individual shelf so you can pause the video and look at the titles there if that interests you. But the point of this video really is for me to let you know what my reading mood is like at the moment. So it's kind of a pile of possibility very loosely. I haven't prepared for this. I'm going to do this live, even though this isn't a live video, but you know what I mean. So I don't really know what's going to come out of this or how many titles I'm going to be pointing to, so it's not in any way a TBR at all. I can already envisage that I'm going to be pointing out a lot more books than I'll actually have the capacity to read within a timely time frame of this particular video. So really it's just to share with you what my reading mood is like at the moment, I guess, and if there's anything that I particularly mention that you think, actually, I think you'll really like this right now, let me know. Or even if it's the opposite, if you think, actually, Sophia, I don't know that that's really the vibe you're going for right now, or I actually don't think you're going to enjoy that one so much right now, then let me know that too, because I do sometimes get a little bit overwhelmed with options. As a mood reader, I do like to mood read, but also I'm a terrible decision maker in my own personal life, which means that having lots of books on my shelves can become a little bit like, what do I choose? So your assistance is greatly appreciated, and we're going to get into it. So you're not going to see my face now for the rest of the video until the very end, and you're just going to be looking at my beautiful books. Okay, so I'm not going to give a proper overview of the shelves because I have a TBR shelf tour, which I will link for you, but just briefly for the sake of context of this video, I do have some Sanderson books on the top there, which I have of course read. I then have paperbacks up here. These are the ones I'm less interested in, so I don't know that I'll necessarily go through that shelf with you, but in general these are paperbacks. They're all in order of author surname. I have my Wheel of Time collection. I'll skip that shelf as well, it's not really calling to me recently. Over here we have the mass market paperbacks, and underneath that we have the adult paperbacks. So over here was YA and middle grade paperbacks, and then over here is adult paperbacks. Then we have the Sanderson section across the middle here. I have of course read all of those, and then just below all of that is my hardback collection on these shelves here. So the top section is all adult hardbacks, and then underneath is middle grade and YA hardbacks, and then just at the end of each of these sections is the taller paperbacks that don't fit on the regular size paperback shelves. So we will start up here. In terms of this shelf, I don't think there's anything there that's particularly calling to me right now. It is mostly middle grade and YA. I mean, this whole first bit that I'm going to be going through is mostly YA. Sorry about the traffic noise outside. And YA, as you know, has just not been calling to me so much of late. So there is that one. I'm going to move across over here, and let me move this pot out of the way so we can see what's on this particular shelf. So I do have the Throne of Glass series on my 23 series to read in 2023, so these are a priority for me and I want to read them ASAP. I am actually still really called by adaptation, and I don't know why I haven't ever got to it yet. Let me take it out for you. So this is the first book in a duology, and it is a completed duology, so I could read the whole thing, and it is a dystopian duology with a poly romance in it. So, and I really like Melinda Lowe, so this is potentially something that I want to remember to pick up in the relatively near future. And ditto with The Honeys. So this is by Ryan Lasala. It came out last year, and it's actually a horror-esque type story, and I don't know, I think it's calling to me. I think horror in the YA age range is something that has been attracting me more so in the last year or so, so we shall see on this one. Okay, so from this shelf here, I am really keen to read Gleanings by Neil Schusterman. This is a set of short stories from the Arc of the Scythe series, which I really enjoyed, and basically this can be read as a standalone, right? If you've read the trilogy already, then you read this as a standalone, and if you haven't read the trilogy yet, you could kind of read this to see if you want to read the series, I think. So I do want to read that. I'm also still really interested in reading Rebel Skies by Anne Se Lin, which is an East Asian inspired fantasy with paper spirits, so that sounds really interesting. And then I do also have the Reckoners trilogy on my 23 series to read in 2023 because for some unknown reason I still have not read this series by Brandon Sanderson. It isn't the most highly praised, so I do only have this one, and I'll have to see how I get on with it as to whether or not I read the entire trilogy, but I want to at least try this one in the relatively near future. Moving over here slightly, ignore the Bone Shard Emperor, that's there because I finished it and I need to wrap it up. We have these three here. Now I am really keen to read An Arrow to the Moon. That's cover is stunning, by Emily X.R. Pan. Again, it's an East Asian inspired fantasy, which I am a fan of, but I do have to be in a specific mood if it's YA. So again, the same issues persist here. And then we also have Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor by Shiranje Zhao, which actually should be with the middle grade, but whatever, it's here. I have been and am keen to read this one, but I think it's the first in a series, and I don't think we've had any news on sequels yet, so I've kind of been hesitating on picking it up because we're in that wanting to finish series era, and I won't be able to do that if it is incomplete with no news on when the sequel is out. So that's the story with that one. Next we have the mass market paperbacks shelf. So let me just move this layer off here so we can see what's behind it. So we have some Jane Austen there, and then we have the Malazan series. I don't think any of those are calling to me just at the moment, so I can put these back. Again, these Mercedes Lackey series here I do have on my series to read this year, so they're definitely a priority for me. We have the Vows and Honour duology, which are the wrong way round. So we've got the Oathbound and Oathbreakers, and then also the Last Herald Mage series, so Magic's Pawn, Magic's Promise and Magic's Price, although I probably won't read these particular editions, even though I'll listen to them anyway. But as you'll see, if we just move down, I do have the Last Herald Mage bind up just here, so I would probably, if I'm going to immersion read, I'll read from that one. In terms of anything else on this adult paperback shelf, I am keen to pick up Going Postal by Terry Pratchett. I've only tried Terry Pratchett once before, which was Mort, and it didn't work for me quite as well as I was hoping, so this is like Terry Pratchett's second chance for me, and if this doesn't work then I guess I'm giving up, because he has a very specific sense of humour and it didn't work for me in Mort, so we'll have to see how I get on with this one. There are the first 2 Lightbringer books on this shelf. That's another series that is on my list for this year, so I only have the first 2 here. I'll see how I get on with those. The Bone Season I'm really keen to pick up, but one, the series isn't finished yet, and it's probably not going to be finished for quite a while, because I think it's going to be 7 books, and we've only got the first 4. The 5th one isn't due out until next year, and there's no real detail on when the series is going to be finished. Plus, this year she's releasing Samantha Shannon is releasing a revised edition of this book, and she's going to be doing the same with the other books in the series, so yeah, I'm not going to be reading that anytime soon, I don't think. Malice is the first book in the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne, and again this is one of those series that is on my list to read this year, so I will hopefully get to this one in the not too distant future. Coming down now to the hardbacks, and we're starting off with the adult ones. I do need to read The Stardust Thief fairly soon, because that was the May selection that Joanna had for me, so there is that one. I am called by When Women Were Dragons. It sounds really interesting, and I have the audiobook on Audible ready to go, and it stands alone, so I don't know why I haven't read this one yet, but I just keep forgetting about it, I think, so this one's definitely up there. I was really excited to read The Atlas Paradox when I bought it, but I thought that the 3rd and final book would be out this year, and actually it's not out until January, so even though I'm excited to read this, I'm keeping that on hold because I need to reread The Atlas 6 anyway, so it's calling to me, but practically I can't really read it until the last one is out, because I want to just reread the first one and then read the second one and third one straight away. The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi is one I'm torn on. It does call to me, partly because the book itself is just so beautiful, and I do really like the sound of the premise, but seafaring fantasy can be a bit of a miss for me, as can Middle Eastern inspired fantasy, so this really could go either way, and for that reason, even though it's calling to me, I've been nervous about picking it up, because I feel like either I'll really enjoy it or I really won't, and that would be sad. Moving across to the next one along, here we go. Her Majesty's Royal Coven, again, has been calling to me for quite a while, but also it's a series, and, well, we've already discussed that. Godkiller is definitely really calling to me. This one is standalone as far as I know, which is excellent in fantasy, and it's so short. Look at those edges, crazy. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Again, as with When Women Were Dragons, I don't know why I haven't picked this one up yet. I am getting very bogged down in series, I think, and I need to remember that I have these standalones that I can pick up as kind of like palette cleansers between series, so maybe I'll start doing that. Ditto with In the Lives of Puppets. Really keen to pick up this standalone, and similarly I do have Wolf Song, which is the first in a completed series by TJ Klune as well, so I could read this one too and read the whole series. Also, A Strange and Stubborn Endurance is calling to me as well, by Foz Meadows. This is like a, what are they calling it now? Romantasy, so fantasy romance. But the reason I haven't picked this one up yet is because it's the first in a duology, and the second book is coming out in December, and so Stephanie from Stephanie's Bookverse and I are planning to buddy read this duology in November and December, so I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, it's priority, but it has its time carved out for it already. And I am looking forward to reading The True Love Experiment as well. So this shelf has got tons on it that I should be getting to ASAP, particularly the standalones here. Let's move it along to the next adult shelf. Please ignore my cup of tea there. Let me move it out the way a little bit. There we go. So, what's calling to me from here? Again, I've been really interested in The City of Dusk since it came out, which was last year, towards the beginning of last year actually. But again, I don't know how many books are even going to be in this series, so I have been hesitant to start it because I'm trying to avoid starting series that I can't finish. The Legends of the First Empire series by Michael J. Sullivan is a series that is on my list for the year, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. It's a little bit of an undertaking though, because there are 6 books, I think, in this series, although I think it's a core trilogy and then a follow-up trilogy, so maybe I will approach it as 2 trilogies in terms of binge reading them, but then we never know, maybe when I start it I'll be obsessed and I'll be perfectly happy to binge it, but that's definitely up there. Witch King is a book that I just got in my May Lumacrate box, and I think, as far as I can tell, this one is a standalone as well. So same premise as before, and I didn't really know much about it until I got it in my box, and then I read so sorry about the building works in the background, and then I read the synopsis when I got it in the box, and it sounds great, so I'm really interested in that one. Over here, whoop, there we go, let me move my tea again. There we are, sorry about that. So we have some of the taller paperbacks, as I mentioned. I am really still intrigued by Scattered All Over the Earth by Yoko Tawada. I bought this in Edinburgh in October last year, and I think it's kind of a dystopian type vibe, and it's translated, so I'm definitely interested in that one. These others I'm not going to pull out just because they're stacked and it's a little bit tricky, but I am really still keen to read The Sword of Kaigen. Again, another standalone, so I need to get to that. And this series, well, these are the first 2 books in I can't remember the name of this series. Hang on, let me see if I can find out. It's called the Their Bright Ascendancy trilogy, and I've had these 2 books on my shelves for ages, and I don't know why I haven't picked them up. They kind of call to me and they kind of don't. Does that make any sense to anyone other than me? Okay, sorry about the angle on this one. This is as low as I can get my tripod to go, and I don't want to handhold because then you're going to have the shakies. So on this shelf, I do want to finish the Diviners series this year, but I have to confess it hasn't really been calling to me recently. So it's on the list to be read as soon as possible, but yeah, it just hasn't really been calling to me. So moving across, this is all YA now. I mean, this first section was middle grade, but the rest now is YA. The Ballad of Never After, I have 2 copies of this because I didn't think that I'd bought the Fairy Loot one, so I went and bought a copy from Waterstones, and then sure enough I actually had ordered the Fairy Loot one, so that's my bad there. I don't usually like to have multiple copies of series that are not my favourite, but c'est la vie. I do want to read this one, but again, I think that the final book is coming out towards the end of this year, so if that is the case, what I will probably do is wait until that last book is out, and then either reread the first one and then binge the rest of the series, or just go ahead and read this second one and then the third one once it's out. So yes, calling to me, but holding off for now. And I've been being called by the Bone Witch series by Ringe Peko for years. I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. I've got the whole trilogy. It's here. I don't know what to tell you, but this is a potential trilogy that I could just binge and add to my 23 in 23 in place of something else if I wanted to. So yeah, it calls me on and off. And now we're over here. Is there anything here that is calling to me? I don't think there really is in particular. I mean, I'm definitely keen to read Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. That sounds really, really fun, and I just recently got that in a Ferry box, so that one I'm definitely keen to read. Ditto Song of Silver, Flame Like Night, which is, first of all, absolutely stunning. And this one was actually Joanna's pick for a YA book for me to read in June. Is that what month we're in? Yeah. So that one I will read soon. And I'm kind of almost in a way called by This Is Why We Lie, just because it's standalone. It's a mystery thrillery type book and it's very short. So I feel like it's a good quick book to read when I feel like I need that. But there's nothing else really in this section that's calling to me, although I really need to get on and finish this trilogy as well. But I think I would need to reread The Prison Healer at this point to be able to finish off that trilogy. But once again, it's a completed trilogy that I could finish. And then just shift you a little bit so you can see the last books. On this particular shelf we have a Sarah Beth Durst, Here, Drink, Slay, Love, which I'm keen to read, but there's no audiobook, and so I'll be honest, that is why I haven't picked that one up yet. But I don't think there is anything else there on this shelf that is particularly calling to me just now. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this little look at my TBR and insight into my current reading mood. As I said at the beginning, do let me know if you have any particular thoughts on any of the books that I mentioned, or if you saw anything that I didn't particularly mention that you think actually should be within my current priority TBR, I guess. Then let me know that too. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks. Bye.